cherish the fact that we have never used your sickness, your situation for politics. If we are wrong, then we are wrong. But that is our position, and that is the position that this government, which is an honorable and a decent government, will maintain. And so I just want to make that clear. Ladies and gentlemen, we have 5 minutes left before my friend calls in. And so I just wanted to segue quickly, because I started out by saying sometimes when things are running smoothly, you know, in Nevis now we've had some water issues, and we've explained those and why we're having those issues. We've also explained our plan for remedying those issues, and I'm proud to say that based on the last conversation we had with the Honorable Spencer Brand just today in the cabinet, he indicated that the drillers from Trinidad are mobilizing, so we expect to have them on island in short order, and then when they come, we are hopeful that they embark on the drilling exercise and that we can find potable water to supplement our water supply. Four Seasons, all through May, our largest flagship, they're running, I believe it is upwards of 90% in some periods of May, which is highly unusual for this time of year. And so their demand for water with low rainfall, low recharge of our aquifers is extraordinary. We are trying our best to manage as best as we can. We are jockeying. We are sometimes having to suspend the water supply to some areas to give other areas. But we have a plan that we are working on to remedy the situation. So whole strain, we are asking you please, and continue to conserve water. Water is life. It is important. And it is scarce. It's not only scarce in Nevis. It's scarce in St. Kitts, where they've had water woes for decades. Scarce in St. Vincent. I just read a piece where it said all the rivers in St. Vincent are drying up, no water. You look around the region is having the same problem. Anguilla, St. Martin and others have moved heavily towards desalination. But then when you see the cost of water in Anguilla, if we were to try to charge Nevis people what people in Anguilla pay for water, you'll be wailing and gnashing your teeth down here in the streets. We have to find alternative water, and we're working on it. We're also, of course, working on a small desalination plant in the St. James area, a gift from the United Arab Emirates. One is also being worked on in St. Kitts. And so we are not sitting back. We are working to solve that particular problem. But the reason I talk about when things are going well, the reason people notice that water is off, you know, because we're so accustomed to water 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That is why when water is interrupted, people go into crisis mode. They're not accustomed to it. The same thing with electricity. The minute you see electricity goes off in Nevis now, people start to call it, what's wrong? You know why? Because we're not accustomed to it now. We've invested over the years to such an extent that the electricity supply is the norm, not the exception. And that is what I think sometimes people don't understand or appreciate. That we have, through incredibly difficult times, no government, brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, no government has had the Herculean challenge of a global pandemic. No government in the history of Nevis has ever had that challenge until this CCM government. And through the grace of God and through the wisdom of your leadership, here we stand today. I am sure when I talk to some of you, don't even remember COVID. And that was just the other day. That was 2019 and 2020. Some of us don't even remember the impacts of COVID. All into 2021, we're still experiencing the impacts of COVID. But the way we manage things, the way we kept the lights on, the way we kept our civil servants paid on time and in full, the way we provided social safety nets and assistance to our people, a lot of people give very little credit for what happened and how it was managed. The way we kept our infection rate so low that in Nevis An entire movie production company moved here and started making movies. You know why? They said they felt safe on Nevis. We were able to achieve all that. You all remember I used to come on radio every Sunday? I wonder how many people remember that. And talk about the new regulations, because every other week we were putting out regulations, explain it to our people, try to answer questions. But sometimes you see when you do things and you make it look easy, everybody think it easy. When Viv went out to bat or Lara went out to bat and made a century, everybody say, oh man, that's easy, me could do that too. But it's when you get into the crucible, when you get on the field of play, you realize that it's not so easy. I have been in government since 2013 here in Nevis. We've had a good run. We've won that election in 2013 under Van Samry. We came back in 2017, my first go around as leader. We won. We came back in 2022 and won a second time. Third time. Second time under me. And you know what has always made me proud? That this government has not had any scandal. This government has not had any ruction, any confusion. This government has stood. And as I said, these things perhaps people don't give any credit. But look at how smooth. Look at the captain piloting this luxury liner called Nevis through rough seas, and you're fast asleep in your bed, you don't even feel a ripple. That's how we have done. And I say thank you to God. Thank you to God, because it is on Him that we rely for wisdom to deal with some of the situations here and some of the unfortunate and terrible things that people say. But nevertheless, we continue. My friend is on the line, so I'm going to go to the line. I did promise her 8:45 on the dot, and she's a stickler for time and for rules, and so I say good evening to you.
Good evening, Honorable Brantley. How are you?
Well, you have to introduce yourself to the radio listeners here and abroad, so I allow you an opportunity to do that and to tell us why you're calling.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Tamisi V.A. Lestrade, and I am one of many hats, but this evening I am one of the directors of the Touch of Love. We are a non-profit organization, and we are about spreading awareness as it relates to inflammatory bowel diseases as well as autoimmune diseases. And we have now embarked a new journey under our portfolio in terms of good deeds. And so that allows us to do more community connections in terms of our work. And so I am here to promote our upcoming walk this Saturday morning. And I am hoping that all of us in the general public listening this evening would be able to come on out and support us. Our theme for the walk is Be the Support I Need. So that's the theme for our walk coming up on this Saturday. And the walk begins at 5:30 a.m. However, registration is at 5 a.m. and we're going to also have a warm-up at 5:15 a.m. And that's coming up on this Saturday. That's the 18th of May, 2024. And we're hoping that everyone can come on out and support the Touch of Love as we spread awareness as it relates to what we do and who we are. And of course, you're doing some good for your body by a little exercise. And today I know you don't go on your walks, so I'm hoping that you can roll out a bit, or that's your in time. I'm not too sure. But I'm encouraging you to come on out and walk as well.
Well, tell us a little bit about the organization. The walking is good, but I don't get the sense that this is a one-off. So tell us a little bit about Touch of Love.
So Touch of Love started in 2020. It started because I would have embarked a journey that called ulcerative colitis. It's an IBD. It's an inflammatory bowel disease. And because I did not have much support, because it was relatively new to persons, even to the medical practitioners around here, I was all alone. And so I decided that I would have to get some other individuals on board so that we can be that support and provide help and awareness and linkages to persons. Touch of Love we are a confidential in this organization because we're dealing with persons' medical information. And you know, you said it tonight as well, that we are in a very private society. And so we do have quite a bit of persons that are on Nevis and even on St. Kitts who do suffer with colitis. But because of the nature of the disease, and especially for the males, it's a bit embarrassing. So they don't want people to know the information, but they want the support. And so we provide that support by having group meetings so that you can talk about what you're feeling and get some encouragement and some help. We also provide that link between you and different medical practitioners who can help you along your journey depending on what you're going through, as well as counselors. So we provide that bridge and kind of make, you know, the new discovery for you a little bit more easier because you now know that you're not alone. We also have quite a bit of persons who have different autoimmune diseases, like lupus is one that we see is like skyrocketing. You have persons who have psoriasis, persons with celiac disease. So there's so many different types of autoimmune diseases that are around. And most times, if you have an autoimmune disease or an IBD, if you don't get it into remission, or you tend to go down the cancer path or the renal path. And so we're trying to make sure that persons are doing the right things for their body. So if you have a diagnosis is not a death sentence. So the doctor tells you have psoriasis or lupus, and right away you think, oh, I'm going to die. But if you change the way you eat, if you do a little exercise, if you stress less, because stress, with people with those type of diseases, if you stress a lot, yes, you increase the inflammation in your body and you make the matters worse. And so we are here to provide that support, that guidance, help you with meal plans, anything that we can do, we do it. And so that's who we are.
Well, I am absolutely delighted because I confess that you and I, when we first came into contact, I always knew who you were. But in terms of a conversation, I don't know if you remember, you shared your book with me. Yes. And I read it in one go. I was quite fascinated by your journey. And this is the first that I actually heard about this particular sickness, this particular affliction. And the way that you explained it and the way that you've dealt with it, but you've not just done that. You have now gone out in a very public way and organized a group to provide assistance to others. Oftentimes when people see things out of the ordinary, or sometimes even if it is a sickness that is common, like cancer, it is still bewildering. It is still difficult for you to get answers. You are still trying to get support, which is important. Families too need support. And so I'm delighted that you are taking this on. I say to people all the time that a lot of people look to government for everything. But there are individuals out there like yourself who are doing great service in the community. And I can't let this opportunity pass without thanking you for your own role and what you're doing, and in a way using your journey now to help others. I think that this is a worthwhile undertaking, and I would ask you again, because sometimes people tune in a bit late, to give the details again of when the walk is going to happen and what we need to do to register.
So the walk is going to happen on this upcoming Saturday, that's the 18th of May. Registration begins at 5 a.m. If you want to pre-register so that you just come at 5:15 for the warm-up, you can always go by Divinity Touch, that's Lydia Phillip in the Mortons Building, Main Street, Charlestown. You can give her your name, you can give her your $20 contribution, because there's a contribution towards the walk, and for your contribution you will get a hat. It's a purple hat because IBDs and autoimmune diseases, we are under the purple ribbon. And so the hat is purple, it says Touch of Love Inc. And on the inside it has our contact number. You will also be given fruit and water when you come to the walk. So that's what your $20 contribution is going to go towards. And so you can sign up there. We also have an online link. You can go to our Facebook page, The Touch of Love. The registration link is there if you want to register online, and then when you come in person, you just pay the contribution. And so we are going to be at the Malcolm Gishard Recreational Park. That's where we're starting and that's where we're ending. We're walking in a circle because persons who would be on the walk, persons have IBDs and autoimmune diseases, and they won't be able to do an extensive walk. So we are walking from the park up the bypass road, turn down into Chronic Road, and then we come across the old hospital road back to the park. So we're walking in a circle. It's a nice, cool walk. You'll be finishing time to go back home in your bed if you want to do so. And so I'm encouraging everyone to come on out on Saturday, 5 a.m. You can register on the spot. 5:15 is warm-up. 5:30 a.m. the walk begins. And as the Premier rightly said, I'm a stickler for time. So please don't be late. Otherwise, you'll have to meet us on the walk.
Good.
If it is 10 of us, we're starting the walk because time is time. Please be on time. We're starting the walk 5:30 a.m. on the dot.
Let me ask you, for those who may not be able to make the walk but think that the work you're doing is important and would want to make a contribution, how can they do that?
So they can contact us via email at touchoflovenevis@gmail.com, touchoflovenevis@gmail.com, or they can go to the credit union. We have an account there, so you can just go and ask for the Touch of Love account and make the deposit there. That is fine as well. Or you can contact us at 869-667-3334. So that's 869-667-3334. And all donations are welcome. And I promise you that we are going to remain transparent in terms of what we do with funding that is collected. And I don't really like to broadcast who we help and that type of thing. That's not our organization. However, you will know what we are doing because we will take pictures. If, let's say, for example, we're giving food or medication, we will take pictures of the food and medication that was bought, but you will never know who we give it to.
Sure.
Because that's not what we're about.
Right.
And so, but we still want to give our helpers and supporters that assurance that we are channeling the funds in the right place. And so that's our middle ground. We take pictures of what we bought and what we're doing, but not who's benefiting from the funds.
Good.
That's private.
Good.
And so I want to encourage persons to just give into the organization, and we are registered with the NIA, and we are up to date. I boast about that all the time because I know that persons want to know that when they're giving their monies into an organization, that the organization is held accountable. And so we are audited every year. And so you can feel free and know that your monies will be in good hands and that individuals who definitely need the help are the ones benefiting from what you're showing into the organization.
Well, thank you very, very much. Is there anything further you want to say before you leave us?
Yes, I want to say thank you to the general public for those who donated today because we were in town today. And those who signed up for the walk today, we want to say thank you to you. And to those who will come on, we're saying thank you in advance because we know that you're going to come and you're going to assist and you're going to walk. And I want to say thank you to you, Honorable Premier, for having me on your show this evening. Thank you so much for the accommodation. And to have a wonderful evening, everyone, and God bless all of you.
Okay, thank you very much. That's Tamika Lestrade. I hope I have that right. Mrs. Tamisia, forgive me. Tamisia Lestrade. Mrs. Tamisia Lestrade, who's doing some great things here on the island. So congratulations to you and your team, and please continue to do what you're doing. We appreciate you and we appreciate the effort that you've put in. And I think all of those who will be the beneficiaries of your assistance are also appreciative. So on their behalf, I thank you. And on behalf of all of Nevis, as a Premier, I think I can say that. I thank you as well. Okay?
Yes, thank you so much. Have a good evening.
Good, you too. And thank you for calling in. I knew she would call on the dot of 8:45 because she's a stickler for time, so I expected that. Tamisia Lestrade, who's doing some great things there with Touch of Love. And she's given various ways that you can contribute. You can do so by going to the walk, of course, this Saturday at 5 a.m. at the Malcolm Gishard Recreational Park. You can go to the credit union and ask for the Touch of Love account. You can email at touchoflovenevis@gmail.com, and you can call her. I forgot the number now, 66734. Forgive me, you'd have to look to the tape for that, but certainly she has given various options if you want to contribute. A very important initiative, and I like to see people involving themselves in charitable work. I think it's important. Whom God has blessed should bless others. And to whom much is given, much is expected. And that is the way it goes. I particularly like what she said about how they do what they do, recognizing that, again, illness and sickness are private matters for persons. And so she's indicating that, you know, your privacy is respected, that they may take photos of what they buy with the money, but they certainly will not be broadcasting who they're benefiting. And I think that's the type of organization that I like, and that is consistent in terms of how people operate on the island. And so I welcome that, and thank you again, Mrs. Lestrade, for all that you're doing. Ladies and gentlemen, well, the lines are open, so I might as well continue now to take calls at 869-469-1616 and 869-469-1700. While I wait for the phones to ring, let me remind the good people of Nevis that the Honorable Alexis Jeffers and his team are going to be having the Grand Whit Monday Medical Fundraiser Monday 20th of May, this coming Monday, next Monday. They have Ultimate Band, DJ Wet, DJ Zimba, DJ Lalbo. They have Frank and Snowflakes and the Boys String Band, and they have lots of other entertainment. They are serving breakfast, brunch, lunch, and dinner. And all proceeds are going to go towards aiding 6 persons in the community who need medical assistance. So this is the Honorable Alexis Jeffers, and he is partnering with he's partnering with Mr. Amoy Nisbet, and a large cadre of volunteers. The Bricklin and Butlers communities doing something truly wonderful. Let's go to the phones and take our call. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Good evening, Miss Sheriff.
Good evening, my dear.
Good evening, Miss Sheriff.
Good evening. Are you hearing me?
No.
Are you listening to the radio?
No.
Or are you listening
Now
to your
I'm
phone?
hearing you.
Okay.
Proverbs 11, verse 10 and 11. When he goeth well with the righteous, the city rejoice. And when the wicked perish, then is shouting. For the blessing of the upright, the city is exalted, but it is overthrown by the mouth of the wicked. Have a good evening. I can hear you. Have a good night.
All right, my dear, and thank you for your scripture as always. We're truly grateful to you, and you are usually our first caller. Tonight we had a special call at 8:45. We had special arrangement for Mrs. Lestrade, and so we thank you for being our first call as we open the lines, and thank you as always for your scripture. We're taking your calls at 869-469-1616 and 869-469-1700. Just to say to the public that we get complaints sometimes from callers who say that some callers take up too much time. But I urge you to call if you have something to say, because otherwise we end up being on the show without many calls, and it puts tremendous pressure on me to continue the dialogue or continue the soliloquy, so to speak. And so we tend to use the second half of the show for calls. This is your opportunity. Don't refuse to call and then complain that somebody has taken up too much time. Use the time for yourself to call in and say what you have to say. I think that is important. And so the lines are open. You can call at any time. I go back, however, to my theme about the island and how the island has been running. And the fact that when the captain is steering the ship in a way that there are no ripples, there are no great problems, that people are sleeping so comfortably they take it for granted. And I want to reflect on that for a minute, because as we look around this island, I had a meeting recently with the new call center operators in Brownhill. You would recall that the call center in Brownhill shut down at a moment's notice one Friday afternoon. I'm going to get back to that. Let me go to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark. Hello?
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. You got to lift your voice a bit, please.
Okay, my voice is not 100%, but Mark, we had a good time on Sunday at the Arts and Recreation Ground, because we had 4 teams there and we had Napo matches. But it's just that we couldn't play the finals because of bad light. But we work out something with the 2 teams down the road when we're going to play the finals. But on Sunday coming up will be the start of the VPA League, sponsored by Honorable Eric Evelyn and sponsored by On the Move Construction and also Gator. Elliot who does for watching. But on Sunday we'll have the Bushwhackers playing against Eastern in the first game that's supposed to start at 12:30, and the second game will be the Jets coming up against HRS Sports at 6 p.m. And we're hoping that everybody can come out to support the team. We had a mama crowd there on Sunday, Mark, and we just have to continue doing our thing. Remember, I'm also going to try and check you by Sunday, right, Mark?
All right, we'll stay in touch. And I was a little disappointed as well that the games weren't finished, but then I also understood that you all started a bit late. So yeah, maybe if you can start on time, it will help.
Yeah, but Mark, I asked the team them to come 12:30, and they came 3 o'clock.
Well, you see, that's the problem, because when they start at 3, night catch you.
Yeah,
but no problem.
You know, right now we don't really have any light, but I've been told that the light is working out.
Well, the issue up there apparently is the ability to get three-phase power. We have the lights, but that is the issue that is afflicting us there in Zion and other areas. It's Nevlec and the ability. I only learned today, believe it or not, that apparently there's a real shortage of transformers, and the ability to get transformers is difficult. I was told that today. But we are committed to providing the lights. We, in fact, just today, the cabinet would have given the Honorable Liebert, Troy Liebert, some instructions to proceed to get the installations at those areas where we don't have power problems, to get them finalized as quickly as possible. So we recognize that, but I think knowing the limitations, if the games can start on time, then that would also help. I understand it's not your fault, but the players need to show up so that, you know, by 6 o'clock, 6:30, the games are winding down, and we would avoid the situation that we had while we will continue to work on getting the lights. But thanks for that update, and thanks for the community work that you continue to do.
Yeah, okay, Mark. Have a good evening.
Okay, thank you very much. So we were just mentioning the fact that the call center in Brownhill closed on one Friday. Imagine, as the Premier of Nevis, I'm sitting down in my office and I get a call that the call center in Brownhill shut down. No notice, no anything. And when I asked them what's happening, they said, oh, decision has already been made and they're leaving. So the government had no opportunity to say, well, what's wrong? Can we solve it? Nothing. They just closed down. We fought tooth and nail to get that call center back up, because we understood that it employed quite a few people. We had an operator who was in fact on Miami International Airport to board a flight to St. Kitts. He called me and I told him not to come because our borders were going to be closed due to COVID. After COVID was over, I got back in touch with that operator. He said his business model had changed, and so he's no longer interested. But we kept at it. And I want to thank NIPA, Tamika, Lawrence, who's the head there, and her team, because they really worked hard after we had revamped NIPA to attract investment. And so we were able to bring a team of persons now to the table to open that call center. And I was privileged to speak with one of the owners last week, and I was very pleased to hear that they have roughly 100 or so workers and expect to be up to 160 or so in short order. They're already talking about reconfiguring the space to allow them to go up to about 230. And then they're saying to the government, we're going to need more space, because as they train up their workers and as they get going, that they're going to be doing higher value work, meaning the workers will be able to earn higher amounts, and they will need additional workers. We also, through NIPA, were able to arrange a partnership with a group of doctors, and they have now opened a second call facility called Telemed Partners, and they're operating in the heart of Charlestown. They started out with about 11 or so workers. I'm told recently that they're up to about 30 workers now. I hope that information is accurate. We see jobs being advertised constantly. In fact, just today, this morning, 2 individuals contacted me about work, and I was able to just reach out to Michael Herbert and said to him, Michael, could you send me, please, a listing of jobs from the Labor Department? And the Labor Department now here is operating a sort of employment agency. So when you have jobs, you advertise them with the Labor Department in Nevis. The Labor Department seeks to find persons, fit those persons to those jobs. And so we are trying to assist our employers. And I was able to send that out because we keep updating what jobs are available through the Labor Department to those two individuals, and it's my hope that they take advantage and they go and they apply. We have a situation in Nevis now, in my humble opinion, where who not working is who not interested in working, who not interested in going to do what is necessary. Because people who are interested in working here, some of them holding 2 and some 3 jobs. You talk to them all the time and they tell you how they're hustling because they see opportunity. When I spoke to one employer recently, he said to me that he's getting a flood of applications from Caribbean islands. He mentioned Dominica in particular. The Commonwealth of Dominica, not the Dominican Republic, but the Commonwealth of Dominica. And he said now with the freedom of movement in the OECS, the labor market has expanded. So the Dominican workers are coming, they're fitting themselves in, and then you know what they're doing? They're doing what we and all other people who have emigrated have done. They say, let me call my cousin, let me call my sister, let me call my boyfriend and tell them opportunities are here. And I tell people all the time that when you see persons are willing to leave their country and come to Nevis, it is the best indication that opportunities exist in Nevis. Because people not leaving their country to go to another country to take knockabout. They're leaving their country to come to another country to seek opportunity. That is why so many of us went to St. Martin. We went to the USVI. We went to BVI. We went up to New York and to England because we were looking opportunity. We went to Canada. Where you went Canada for? Because you like the cold? You like to feel cold? That's why you went Canada? No, you went to Canada to look for opportunity, to help to provide for you and your families. The world over, that is the main driver of the movement of people. You of course have other calamitous situations like war and famine. I'm not talking about those situations. I'm talking about where people voluntarily take the decision that they're going to leave their home and go to a distant land. And the fact that people are coming into Nevis and employers can tell me how many applications they're receiving from around the region tells me that there are opportunities here on the island of Nevis that people are taking advantage of. You would not expect so when you listen to some of the naysayers. Because according to them, Nevis is a wasteland. It's a desert. Nothing is happening here. That's good. But I look around and I smile to myself. I smile. Because some of the people who are most involved in criticizing, those who are most involved in saying and spreading the gospel that nothing good is happening, watch where they turn out for work every morning. Watch who's benefiting. You know, I marvel that when we had the movie industry started here, right here in Little Nevis, when we did our arrangement with MSR Media, the NRP went crazy, cussed us, and one day I sat down and I said, but where are the people staying? NRP. Who's catering for the people? NRP. Who's working for the people getting jobs? NRP. But the NRP as a party is out there cussing, saying this is nonsense, and while they are publicly cussing, they privately fill in their pockets from the opportunity that was created here. That's why I tell people all the time, ignore the noise. I'm not trying to be rude when I say so. But sometimes when you hear noise, you just got to close your ears and keep walking and stay focused on what you're trying to do. You remember the water taxi pier? Oh, stupidness we're doing and whatever. But look, the fact that 3 months, the first quarter of this year, We had over 70,000 passengers transiting through that facility. You have now built the reception area, and we put up some beautiful signs over there. I want to thank Jimmy, incredible artist, who did this signage for us. And you hear the cries and the criticisms, but look at it now. The fact that you go over there, there are young people employed, not just with NASPA, but with the boats, all the boats, the captains and everybody else, locally owned. Blue Wave, Islander, and all the others, locally owned, operated, and creating, and I want people to understand, through the government's partnership, we have created within the transportation sector this idea of the water taxi. And it's wildly popular. Tourists love it, people love it. The water taxi. Imagine you could leave Nevis, go to St. Kitts, have dinner. Somebody tell me the other day they go over, they go Spratnet, all the way down in Old Road, have dinner, and come back over. Because you could leave here 6 o'clock, you come back 10, 11 o'clock at night. And vice versa. I come off that boat all the time. I see large parties from St. Kitts, persons who came over to celebrate a birthday. They're having dinner at one of our famous restaurants in Nevis. Vision and foresight made that possible. Let me talk about the Mondo track. Oh, them a build it out in the middle of nowhere next to the dump. Flies gonna kill them over there. Oh, this, oh, that. And look at the vision that this year, when the Kim Collins Stadium was under repairs, it is the Mondo track in Nevis that rescued the nation of St. Kitts and Nevis. It is to the Mondo track that all athletic meets came. Even the Olympic trials. Mondo track in Nevis. Now what would have happened if we had listened to the noise? We would have never bothered with that investment. But we did it. And we did it because we have vision as a government. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Hey, Mark.
Yes, good evening.
Hey, what's up? You know, a lot of people just say, come with sing a song, say talk, right?
Mm-hmm.
And show me the trophy. A lot of people just look at that.
They just say that, you say?
Just tell them just keep talking. I'm going to hear that they buy them up there in America and St. Grace. Meow. The same boy meow in your name. You know, man?
Yeah, man, of course.
You know them?
Of course.
Yeah, that me boy. The boy listen.
They listen, you say?
Put your bell.
Okay. All right, Pucci. Thanks a lot for the call. And like you said, people talk. I mean, talk is the easiest thing in the world, since sometimes we, 1.5, 2 years old, most of us, we start chat and we don't stop until the Lord take us home. So people are talking. There's no problem with talking. But what annoys me sometimes is those who are talking. I went to a particular construction site where the government is doing some work. And I smiled to myself because some of the fellows that I see up there working feverishly and benefiting from the efforts that we have embarked upon are such vocal critics. Nothing going on. But they hear super drip over there and they go and they hang them out. And when they're done, drink the soup, they wipe off the mouth and they go on radio and say, nothing go on, things dead, people are dead hungry. And that, I think, is the hypocrisy. And that is why we have to, as I said, continue to do the work. Continue to focus. Continue to try our best. Understanding that in this life, even those you help sometimes will be the first to turn around and crucify you. You all remember the biblical account? And what was the biblical account? That you had Jesus, who was without sin, a perfect human, the Son of God, sent to earth to save us from our lowly state, our sinful state, to give us hope. And next to him you had an old dirty criminal named Barabbas. Y'all remember? And when Pontius Pilate asked the crowd, who should he save? They said, give us Barabbas, save the dirty criminal, and kill poor Jesus. Jesus the righteous, the unblemished. Jesus was without sin. Kill Jesus and save the criminal. Let us remember that people are people. And so let us not focus sometimes too much on what the chatterboxes are saying. Because there are people out there who will say, kill Jesus and save Barabbas, because it suits them. Our role is to look at things objectively and to make our own determination. Because you got people driving on brand new roads in Nevis and say nothing happening. People turning out for work every day at one of the new businesses that have opened their doors in Nevis and say nothing happening. People getting contracts and benefiting from this government and say nothing happening. I see some contracts the other day, because one thing with this government we don't pick out. Everybody benefits. I see some things going the other day, I say, what? Remember me see the fella, they campaigned hard against me the last election. Thousands of dollars. But they will be in the front line to say, not happening. And that is why I think there's a credibility gap in terms of the opposition on the island. Because people, you can't tell a man who going to work, who doing well, who go in New York, go enjoy his vacation with his family and living a particular life, who's adding on to his house. And you keep telling him things bad. You know, see how bad things are in evil. He know things not bad. Because he's doing his best ever. I spoke to a friend of mine the other day, and I won't call his name. But he used to be on Facebook and on social media bashing me and bashing the government. And I said to him the other day, I said, but me not hear you or see you now on social media. What going on? He said, boy, things are real good. Business is booming. I said, well, the same way you used to be on their cuss and say how bad things are. You can't go back on there now and say business is booming. He just laughed. Because he not going to say business is booming publicly. But he was prepared to say that things were bad publicly. So we just have to continue to work. And let those who are objective write the stories. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Yes, good night.
Good night to you.
Brantley.
Yes.
I'm reading my scripture.
Yes.
From verse 8, Psalm 37, the same one I read last week, but from verse 8 to 30, no, to 30, yeah, to 13, okay? Here we begin at the scripture. And remember, you can't please people. People are ungrateful, and no matter what you do with them, they will still be ungrateful. Okay, so don't worry about them, but you have to talk still, okay? Cease from anger and forsake wrath. Fret not thyself in any wise to do evil. For evildoers shall be cut off, but those that wait upon the Lord, they shall inherit the earth. For yet a little while, and the wicked shall not be. Yea, thou shalt diligently consider his place, and it shall not be. But the meek shall inherit the earth, and shall delight thyself in the abundance of peace. The wicked plotteth against the just, and gnasheth upon him with his teeth. The Lord shall laugh at him, for he feareth that his day is coming. At the end of the reading of the scripture, and may God continue to bless you and your family, Honorable Brantley.
Thank you so much, and thank you for that beautiful scripture.
All the best.
Thank you.
Bye.
I am periodically checking my phone, and somebody just sent me a message about the employment situation and said to me that the difficulty that we are having is that a lot of our people do not want to get their foot in the door. They don't want to start by getting their foot in the door and then trying to work their way up. They want to come in and they want to be the person in charge right away. And it doesn't work like that. I use myself as an example to people all the time. Those who wish to accept it do, and those who don't wish to do it don't. But I have worked for myself since I was 13 years old. And I've said it on this very radio station before. My father of beloved memory lived in New York, and I went up to New York every summer since I was 13 and worked every summer. And I can't imagine a job that I had not done. I worked as a janitor. I cleaned people's toilets. I scrubbed floors. I walked around Manhattan, an entire square block, 7th Avenue to Broadway. And my job was to make sure there were no cigarette butts, no chewing gum on the sidewalk, no bottles, no bottle caps. I had to make sure that if you drop your food, you go pick it up and eat it. That was my job. I was an electrician's apprentice. I painted with my dad and with my brother Jerry, who's here now, by the way. Jerry, I hope you're good. I operated a freight elevator. When I tell people I've had all the ups and downs in life, it's true, because I'm going up, going down, going up, going down. I say all these things to say that I was doing all that while studying to be a lawyer. Where you think? I say, when I clean a toilet, I'm making money. I want to make an honest living. And once that living that you're making is honest, then there's dignity in the work that you're doing. I had a goal to become a lawyer. But on that path, I decided, listen, I'm going to hustle. You know how good it used to make me feel to come back home after the summer and put a 500 US in Vicky's hand and say, Vicky, that's for you. And this is the thing I think that our people miss sometimes. Let's go back to the phones. We've lost that caller. Caller, please call back in. 869-469-1616 or 1700. This is a thing I think that people miss sometimes. That you have to get that toe and you have to develop the ethic. I see some people go, they study something, law, medicine, and then they come back and they say, well, I've arrived. You haven't arrived, you know. All you've done is gotten a ticket into the park. You must now go on the field of play and distinguish yourself. Let's go to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Good evening, Mr. Bradley.
Good evening to you.
Hi, this is Florine Williams.
Florine, how you do?
It's the time of the year again.
Time of the year for what? You just called me the other day. What happening again?
Well, something is happening now again.
Yes.
We're going to have our annual walkathon.
Tell me.
Well, actually, I'm just going to be brief tonight until next week. I give out all the information. But it's just to let those, our contributors and our guys who always support us, that we're going to have our annual walkathon on the 1st of June. That will be on a Saturday. And we have t-shirts, and you could purchase t-shirts from any member of the Nevis Renal Society or myself, which is number is 669-3477. You could go ahead and purchase your t-shirt until I call next week and discuss the venue some more, okay? But it's just a preview of the walkathon, that we have t-shirts selling already, and they cut off the press.
I'm not sure I want a t-shirt, but I will make a contribution as usual.
You know, really?
Yeah, because the t-shirt thing, man, I may run out of room in my closet,
but
you know?
Guess what? No, I know a lady who usually look forward to get a t-shirt from you.
Well, okay, if that is
so
the case,
drop off her t-shirt.
Drop off the t-shirt and I will deal with it, okay?
I know you will deal with it.
Okay, my dear.
Probably two.
Well, 2, you want me to get 2?
Yeah, that'll be fine. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Well, you know,
Okay.
your wish is my command. So
Yes, so next week
Yes.
I'm going to call in and give more information. This is just a brief preview
okay.
because I think I have to get my bed now.
All right, and in the meantime, send me that little WhatsApp as usual, and let me
All
organize
right,
the
I
payment.
will.
Okay?
All right,
All right.
thanks very much, and you have a good evening.
All right,
Mr.
thank
Brantley, and God
you.
bless you.
Thank you. God bless you too. Sleep well.
Yeah, I
All
will.
right?
Thanks.
Okay,
bye.
it is 9:30, and we're taking your calls. 869-469-1616 and 869-469-1700. But I go back to the idea of working hard, developing that necessary ethic, learning what it is to earn, to save, to save up towards something. All of these are important things, and I think somewhere along the line we've lost some of that, or some of our people have lost some of that. And so our people now, they see you driving a nice car, they don't ask themselves, well, I wonder how long he worked or how long he saved. They see you with a home, I wonder how long he or she, what sacrifices they might have made. No, me want a house. A young lady approached me once, said, me want a house. I said, okay, well, that's good, that's a good ambition. She said, well, you know, she's 19 years old, she and she mother not getting along, so she want a house. I said, but that's not the way it works. A house is a huge undertaking. You have to plan, you have to have a plan. You know, these are things that we need to have serious conversations with our people about, because we have an element of entitlement that has crept in. And I think that we need to continue the dialogue. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Good evening, Mr. Premier. How are you doing, sir?
Good evening, brother. I'm good. How are you?
I am doing pretty good myself.
All right, good to hear you.
Yes, sir. I am calling in mainly to give some good news to some of our farmers, to the livestock farmers in particular. I would have reported to Cabinet recently that we had a visit of a delegation from the East Caribbean Group of Companies, ECGC. We had a delegation of 4 visited very recently, and they came and they had a very good meeting in my office, and they spoke about the excellent relationship that is taking place between the Nevis Island administration and the East Caribbean Group of Companies. They reminded us that, you know, practically since the inception of ECGC, that Nevis has been supportive of them. And of course, ECGC has been very, very supportive of us as well, very supportive of the farmers. I was particularly pleasantly surprised when they came, because during our Agri Expo in March, we had a delegation of 4, I think, who were also here. And they were very, very pleased. I visited the booth at the Agri Expo. They were exceptionally pleased. They were overwhelmed with what is happening with our livestock production here. They were overwhelmed with the quality of the meat that we are producing here. And of course, they are crediting some of that to their feeds. And so they're happy that their feeds are being used on Nevis, and we are getting good quality products. Of course, they were enthused about what is happening with the abattoir, and those sentiments were expressed again when we had the 4-member delegation that visited about 2 weeks ago. And after Cabinet today, I would have had a follow-up call from one of the persons who came to Nevis 2 weeks ago. And when they were here, we had several discussions as to going forward, what can happen, and we did have some discussion about price reduction. And the call that I got today from St. Vincent was to just to inform that yes, there will be some feed reductions when we have feed prices, in terms of reduction of feed prices. When we had the discussions early this month, I was asking how will they be able to work this magic, because of course we know since COVID-19 pandemic, the prices of everything practically has skyrocketed. And I know that over the years our farmers have been complaining that the feed prices are high. Of course, we know as an administration we normally subsidize the feed at the supply office as well, and Sometimes when we are at difficult times, sometimes when there are times when we ask ECGC for help, they're always there to lend a helping hand. Sometimes when there are disasters, they are there to help. When we have our Agri Expo, they're there to help. When we have our fruit festival during Culturama, they're there to help. And so we had these excellent discussions, and I said, the good thing about it is now, it's official now that there actually will be a price increase. And of course, you're
price increase?
Decrease.
Oh.
Reduction.
Okay.
Reduction. The good thing is that your caring administration will pass that reduction on to you, deduction onto you. Because, of course, we know, Premier, that we subsidize. We do subsidize at the supply office.
Sure.
But the folks at ECGC are now saying that there will be between an 8 to 10% reduction in feed prices. And so the persons who are purchasing feed for your poultry, for your pigs, for your ruminants, for your rabbits, whatever you're purchasing feed for, once it is coming from East Caribbean group of companies, you will see a reduction in the prices. They have informed me that the price reduction should come into effect from tomorrow, and so with the next shipment of feed that we get from St. Vincent and the Grenadines, farmers will be able to benefit from a reduction. I said I know the farmers will be very happy to hear this, because I know they have complained bitterly over the years in terms of feed prices. It's something that we don't have any control over, but we are happy to inform that very, very soon there will be a reduction, and any reduction that comes should be welcome, irrespective of the size of the reduction. And a reduction of between 8 and 10% is a good reduction in these times when the prices of everything else is going up. So I want to take this opportunity to thank the delegation led by Mr. Cato, who came to see me, and they are working extremely well with us. They are pleased with what is happening here. They, as I said, they love what we are doing in terms of what we're doing at the abattoir. They're saying that what we're doing at the abattoir here on the island of Nevis may be second only to one abattoir in the sub-region. And so we continue to do well. We continue to impress the folks from ECGC, and we are delighted that now we are reaping the dividends, and we're going to be getting a reduction for the farmers, the livestock farmers. And of course, Honorable Premier, it's very timely as well, because we know that we're going into the dry season. And once we are going into the dry season, persons would need to purchase more feed for the animals. Of course, you know, once it's a dry season, feed is going to be scarce for the ruminants, the small and the large ruminants. And so it comes at a very good time, right around the start of the dry season, when people will need to be purchasing more feed. And of course, ECGC would have given us a container of feed to distribute as well, close to the open day. And we want to thank them again for the excellent collaboration that we've had over the years. I also want to say a special thank you to the manager there at the supply office, Mr. Ricky Liebert, who has really worked with us well too, because normally once we ask Ricky, say, well, we need this from ECGC, we need this assistance, we need this sponsorship, he makes the contact, and ECGC hardly ever says no to us. And so we are very happy for that excellent collaboration and relationship that we have had, we have built over the years, and it continues to get even better.
Okay, all right. That's the Honorable Eric Evelyn. Thank you very much.
And just before I leave,
yes.
Honorable Premier, I mean, I almost every time when you come on the radio, you have to keep nullifying what people are saying about nothing is happening in Nevis. And, you know, of course, persons who live here and persons who can see well see what is happening. And it is strange that persons who live here cannot see, and persons who come, almost every visitor to the island of Nevis can see what is happening and can appreciate what we're doing. Only last evening I had dinner with some folks, some friends of mine from England, and a couple who was visiting from the Netherlands for the first time. Now, the couple who was visiting Nevis for the first time from the Netherlands, they came for 1 week only. And the couple, they were blown away. They're coming from the Netherlands, and absolutely blown away with Little Nevis. They said they are in love with practically the moment they landed in Nevis. I mean, these are people who are coming to Nevis for the first time. They even joked about that and said that, you know, when they came up on the water taxi, they made friends right away and they were able to get a free ride to Hamilton. They didn't even have to pay a taxi. They said they couldn't believe it. And they were just so amazed with the development here. They were just so amazed with the friendliness of the people, so amazed with the food and everything else that Nevis has to offer. And these two people were just beaming and say that they're so sorry that their week has gone by so quickly and how much they would love to come back to the island of Nevis. And so the people who visit our little island continue to just praise and just so happy when they come to the island of Nevis. And it is really, really sad and disheartening when our own people who live here, and as you say, who can see it every day, cannot appreciate what is happening on the island of Nevis.
Well, Eric, I will correct you this way by saying I'm not convinced that, as you say, it's our people. It's a small minority of chatterbox. You know, people who make a lot of noise. That empty barrel, that clanging cymbal.
But they must recognize as well, Premier, that people they are lying. They are openly lying to not only people of Nevis, but to people in the diaspora. Because when you tell these lies and people come and see what is happening, I mean, they can realize that you are actually telling untruth. And well, it's unfortunate that you do that about your own island.
That is the nature of things. I remind you that when this famous black actress came here and said her heart belongs to Nevis, they read the woman, what they said, they read her Psalms, cross out the woman, right? And everybody who comes and says something good about Nevis, there is an attack on that person, because
Precisely.
Nevis is the worst place in the world. And that's why I keep saying to the opposition, well, if this place is so bad, why do you covet it so much?
Precisely. And as I said, and the thing is, Premier, when people say these good things, we don't prompt them, you know. No. We don't tell them what to say. That is the good thing about it.
All right. Thank you very much.
Have a good night, sir.
Thank you. The Honorable Eric Evelyn there sharing some insights and talking about ECGC, who has been a real significant partner in agriculture as we continue to press ahead with our efforts at food security and food sovereignty here on the island of Nevis. He mentioned something which brings me to a topic that I did want to touch on tonight, that issue of subsidies. I see that there's been a lot of chatter about electricity and the cost of electricity. And I want to just say to the people of Nevis, and I like to be straightforward when I speak. As the leader of Nevis, I've always said that whether it's good news or bad news, I'm going to be straightforward. Just about 2 years ago, the Cabinet took a decision to remove the fuel surcharge from domestic bills, electricity bills. We all understand that we were coming out of COVID and there was a tremendous outcry by people who could not afford electricity. Electricity, like water, for me, is a basic necessity. And so we took a decision that we would remove the fuel surcharge from domestic consumers and we would cap it at 65 cents for commercial consumers. I believe if the people of Nevis are fair, that they will say that they saw a dramatic reduction in the electricity bills over that period of time. In fact, people have called me. I have been in the supermarket and people come up to me and tell me thank you, because what they're paying in electricity now, they never thought they would see that kind of bill again. But of course, ladies and gentlemen, it came at a cost. And it did considerable damage to the NIA's finances, because the Nevis Island Administration had to subsidize. So I want you to understand that when we removed the fuel surcharge, the people benefited from a lower cost to them, but did not mean that the cost was lowered, meaning that the cost of generating that electricity was still very high, because of course oil prices were still very high. And so the consequence was that the NIA found itself in increasingly difficult circumstances trying to pay that subsidy to NEVLEC. And so we asked NEVLEC to look at it. We said we did not want a reintroduction of the surcharge, but could you look at it and see how the government can recoup, NEVLEC can recoup, and we can balance it a bit better and share the cost. And so NEVLEC came up with a tariff revision, seeing that the tariffs have not been touched in decades. I will take this call and then I'll come back to that. Let's go back to the phones. Okay, caller, we've lost you. Please call back in, 869-469-1616 and 1700. So NEVLEC would have done their analysis and they would have come to the cabinet. Let's take this call. Good evening, you're on the mark. Hello? Hello,
good evening, Mr. Mark.
Yes, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Yeah, good evening. This is Blackwick, Keno, Claxton.
Yes, good evening.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yes, Mark, I have some answers for you, Remember, the SIDF fund money, they were going around taking out the people bulbs and so out of the houses and giving them these bulbs.
Yes.
Well, I think it's kind of unfair for, the older folks that buy the bulbs for each in their house, and then they bring these bulbs and they take your bulbs. Now, if these bulbs were free, why you took out our bulbs and gone?
Well, I think they were replacing the high use electricity bulbs with the lesser use. That was the whole idea.
Okay, but I'm a technician, right? And I can tell you those bulbs can go up to 2 volts. But the amperage that they pull is more than those bulbs that they took out.
Okay. Well, I don't know. I can't debate that. I'll have to accept your word for it.
Okay, Mr. Barker, I'm going to read a scripture and then I'll close off, okay? Blessed is the man who walks not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor stand in the path of the sinners, nor sit in the seat of the worldwide. But in his delight in the law of the Lord, and his memory of the Lord is the mental of the day and the night. He shall be alike of the tree that planted by the river and the water, and bringeth forth the fruit in its season. What leaf also shall not wither, and whoever he shall prosper. The ungodly are not so, but like the shaft which the driveth away. Therefore the ungodly shall not stand in judgment, nor sinners nor the congregation of the righteousness. The Lord shall know the way of the righteousness, but the way of the ungodly shall perish. Both Psalms 1. The Mark, have a pleasant good night.
All right, my brothers. All right, thank you very much. We have, and thank you for the scripture, and thank you for your comments. We have about 12 or 13 minutes left, and so we're taking your calls throughout, so when you call, we'll interrupt. But I was talking about the electricity situation to say that this government has been very deliberate. We've been looking at this matter to see how we can balance, because what has happened is that subsidy, in order to cushion the impact of the electricity charges, has resulted in poor households paying a lot less for electricity, but has really created a problem for the NIA in financing that subsidy. And so we are seeking to find a way to close that gap. We're still going to have to subsidize, because to put back the whole weight of electricity costs onto consumers is going to be intolerable. People will not be able to pay it. And so we are saying, how can we minimize the subsidy, reduce the subsidy, so that there is a better sharing, if you will, of that cost? And so we have looked at that. NEVLEC has done its analysis, and what NEVLEC is indicating is that they have now proposed an adjustment, a slight adjustment in the base tariff for electricity. So we're not reintroducing a surcharge, but we're trying to adjust the tariffs, which have not been adjusted for some time, and NEVLEC has already put out some press on that. I think they're saying the new rates are going to go into effect from next month, and so we're asking persons who have questions to go into NEVLEC and get those questions clarified. I'm asking the public to understand what it is we're trying to do, which is really trying to balance matters, having post-COVID done our very best to provide some relief. And I think people, if they're honest, will say that they got tremendous relief based on those reductions. We are now trying to come up with a system that allows that pressure, if you will, to be eased a bit, in terms of the consumer getting some relief, but also the government getting some relief. Because what is happening with the fact that we have to support this subsidy, it means that we have less money to do other things, to fix our schools, to provide health care, to fix roads. Some people are calling, I need my road done. And a lot of times we run into problems because we are using up millions of dollars to subsidize electricity. So we are saying that we still will subsidize, we have to, but we are trying to find a better balance. And I'll have more details on that when I have my press conference, but I just wanted the general public to know that you will see some adjustment in your bill. For most people it wouldn't be very significant, but we anticipate some adjustment in your bill as of next month, and that is the reason for it. Again, we encourage persons who owe to please to go in and pay, and to engage with NEVLEC, as we ask you to engage with the water department and engage with the hospital. Wherever you have gone and you have incurred an expense, please engage so that you have no interruption in your service. We want persons to be able to pay. We prefer to collect than to disconnect. And you know the inconvenience when your water and your electricity is disconnected. So go in and talk to them. If you owe $100, you can go and tell NEVLEC, listen, can I pay 20 while I pay it off? We are prepared to listen to you, and we're prepared to work with you. But if you ignore the bill, you will get cut off, and we don't want that to happen, because when you get cut off, you have to pay reconnection fee and all of this. You're actually increasing the burden on yourself. So we are optimistic that our public will understand what we're trying to do and work with us as we try to get to the optimal level, where we are subsidizing, but at the same time it is not bankrupting the government and preventing the government from doing other essential services that it has to do. Let's go back to the phones and take some more calls. Good evening, you're on the mark. Hello? 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 Caller? Yes, Keen, I was just on the radio. All right, well, you're going to have to discuss that with him. Okay? All right. Kino, Myrtlin, I just called in. I suggest you call Myrtlin and have a conversation with her. Okay? Not on the air. Call her on the phone and have a chat with her and ensure that the two of you are on the same page. You know, Myrtlin is always there for you 100%, and so I expect that you're going to have that chat with her. All right? We have about 7-8 minutes left. We're taking your calls. 869-469-1616, 869-469-1700. Just to reiterate on the electricity issue, that NEVLEC has put out a statement, and NEVLEC will be engaging on this. It is, of course, a NEVLEC matter, but I thought I would explain, as the Minister with responsibility for utilities, that I would explain that this has been the difficulty. We have been holding the line as much as we can, for as long as we can. But now that the economy is recovering, the island is recovering, we're thinking that it is time now to share that burden a bit more. We will continue our subsidy, but we want to continue it at a lower rate. And so we expect that persons are going to be asked to pay a little bit more for electricity. And what I'm saying, a little bit more from what you're paying now. It still would be substantially less than you were paying back in 2022 before we reduced the fuel. Well, not reduced, we eliminated the fuel surcharge altogether and kept it on commercial users at 65 cents. So commercial users were still paying some surcharge, not the full thing. They were capped at 65 cents, but the households were paying no surcharge at all. And based on a tariff that really has not been revised for decades, it means that people were not paying very much for electricity. And so that created for people some relief, but it created for the government a tremendous burden and put a squeeze on our ability to do other things. As I said, education, healthcare, roads and infrastructure, etc., were all impacted negatively. So we are going to now continue to try to adjust, and we'll continue to adjust as we go until we find the right medium where people aren't overburdened, but at the same time the government isn't overburdened either. So we're asking people to understand, and it's a conversation we'll continue to have. Having provided massive relief for nearly 2 years now, we are asking the public to understand that we have to adjust, and some relief will still be provided, but not at the same level as we have been providing it before. We have 5 minutes to the hour of 10 o'clock. At 10 o'clock we will close the show. As we do, I want to, of course, thank those who have been online. From time to time I go online to see what is happening there, and we have quite a robust debate that happens online, and I'm grateful for that. I also want to let everybody know that I have my devices back. I did say last week that I had lost my phone on a recent trip. I made a trip 2 weeks ago to Tenerife in Spain, and I'd lost my phone. They did find the phone, but it took forever for them to get it to me. I finally got it yesterday. So I am back online, and so for those who called and queried, some people said they were concerned about me. They thought that something was wrong. Nothing was wrong other than I had lost my phone, and that is a phone that I use for social media, and so all my contacts and connections and access was hampered. But I'm glad to say that I'm back, and I certainly look forward to engaging. And so last week I couldn't see the comments, etc. on the mark. This week I can, so I'm grateful for that, and grateful to all the people who engage, people who don't call but listen religiously, and who continue to make On the Mark their place to be on a Wednesday between the hours of 8 and 10. If you've just tuned in, it's late, we're about to end the show, but my name is Mark Brantley, and you listen to On the Mark, real talk across the Narrows, and we're here, straight talk across the Narrows, forgive me, and we're here on Von Radio, 860 on your AM dial, www.vonradio.com. We're also on Facebook and on YouTube, and of course streaming live on those platforms. And Von Radio remains the Eastern Caribbean's only powerhouse. There are lots and lots of imitators, but certainly nothing and no one that can compare to Von Radio. So long as I have breath, I will continue to thank Merrick Herbert for this miracle of Von Radio that he gave to the people of Nevis, and to thank Weber Herbert, a man I'm proud to call my friend, who has given me this opportunity to be on radio. In fact, I reflected that I have been on radio now for over 20 years, because I started out with the heavyweights, and then we were able to spin off this show and have its own platform now, On the Mark. And so I'm hopeful that other youngsters out there will see this as a worthwhile undertaking. It takes some time, it takes some effort, and it does come at a cost. And I want to thank the law firm of Daniel Brantley, the leading law firm in the region, which has contributed every single month to having this show on the air. It is because of their generosity that we are able to have the show without commercial breaks. And so Daniel Brantley, thank you. I'm hopeful that when the history of this island is written, that Daniel Brantley will be remembered for his contribution to freedom of expression on this island. What we do on this show, ladies and gentlemen, is important, because what we do on this show is that we encourage dialogue, we encourage debate, and we ensure that people have a voice. And we don't dissuade people from calling. In fact, I would say all shades of opinion are welcome. Sometimes people say to me, oh, how you allow this person to call in and say this and say that? And I said, because that is their view. And our job is to elevate the level of discussion in the country, elevate the level of dialogue in the country, and ensure that every voice can contend. That is what a robust democracy demands, and I'm very proud that this little island of Nevis has that robust democracy. The band has struck up. It means that our time is at an end. I want to thank all who listened, all who called, all who were part of the show. I'm to say to you that the show is rebroadcast tomorrow at 1 p.m. right here on Von Radio. And I end by reminding us all of the walk on Saturday that will happen from the MGR Park starting at 5 a.m. And I remind you on Monday, to join the Honorable Alexis Jeffers and Amoy Nisbet and the entire team in Brickhill and Butlers for that grand Whit Monday affair right there on Brickhill Main Road, where they're going to have breakfast, brunch, lunch, and dinner. And all proceeds will go to aid 6 individuals in the community who need medical assistance. Kudos to the team, to Alexis Jeffers, and to the organizers. And I wish this event every success. Ladies and gentlemen, it's 10 o'clock. We have to go. Thank you, good night, and God bless you.
Opinions expressed on the preceding program were solely those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Nevis Broadcasting